So we had quite a challenge when I initially joined the company that I work for, and I'm going to take some time to explain you through those challenges, the approach that we took to address these employer branding challenges, and ultimately the results that we've seen, for which we have recently won the Recruiters, let me get this right, Most Effective Employer Branding Development Award. There's two of my lovely team here, Sam and Remy. I am showing off, so forgive me. Now, before I say much about the company that we work for, I've purposely not said their name. Can you have a show of hands for people who are 100% sure they know how to say this first word here beginning with C? Okay, right, we can probably spell that. Keep your hand up if you're sure about the second word beginning with T. Wow, wow, that's even fewer than I imagined. I think I saw about 5 hands maybe. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is challenge number 1 for our employer brand. No one can say Tyrwhitt, rhymes with spirit, let alone spell it or Google search it. This has been a real challenge for us. If you can't find us, you're not going to want to, not going to find us to work for us. So Charles Tyrwhitt, we're a men's brand, if you're not aware, and here are, oh, it's not working. Here are a collection of stores that you might come across if you're a man shopping on the high street. Does anyone have a strong inclination as to which one of these stores might have Charles Tyrwhitt above the door? Put your hand up if number 1, 2, 3, 4. No one has a clue. 5. Okay. This is our store. But this is challenge number 2 for employer branding. As you can see, we're quite ubiquitous. We sell suits, we sell shirts. How do we differentiate ourselves from our competitors? And I think when you're looking at your employer brand, it's really important to understand the challenges that you face and the perception that the market has of you as an employer. So that you can really tackle them. So knowing thy enemies is really very important. Now, I've said we can't say Tyrwhitt, we can't spell Tyrwhitt. We look very similar to a lot of our competitors on the high street. But we also had another number of things working against us. And one of the biggest is what I like to call the dad brand myth. Now, I'm not sure if anyone knows what I mean by this, but when I was approached by Charles Tyrwhitt nearly 2 years ago to look at their recruitment and employer branding, I thought, Charles Tyrwhitt, this isn't going to be for me. This is not a brand that I'm going to be able to associate with. Isn't it going to be dusty and kind of mahogany lined and quite old school, a bit of a men's, a dad brand, really. I thought, I'm not going to enjoy this. So I actually said, yeah, I'll come on, but I'm going to do a 12-month contract for you. And then I thought, well, I'll go and find something that's going to be more suitable for me for the long term. I couldn't have been more wrong. 2 years later, I'm a permanent member of the team now. I absolutely love the brand. I still don't care about shirts. I didn't then. I don't now. But the brand is so much richer than that. And I wanted a way to put that in front of our candidates so they could also see how incredible it was and not go through the it's not for me before they look and learn more about us. Another challenge we had, CT, I'm going to call us CT from now on, if that's okay. We call ourselves Charles Tyrwhitt because we can't even bother to say it ourselves. CT is, we play with the big boys for talent. We want the same talent as ASOS, as Apple. We want the same gun marketing directors and the same product gurus, but we're not as sexy as ASOS, we're not as influential as Apple, we're certainly not as omnipresent as Starbucks. So I thought, how are we going to compete? How are we going to put our brand forward in a way that will attract this talent away from some of our big competitors? Especially when we had the worst recruitment system. We're systemically challenged at Charles Tyrwhitt anyway, but our candidate application system wasn't quite this bad, but it wasn't far off it. It was hidden away in the back of our e-commerce site. Thankfully, it was very hard to find. But if you did find it, you would see a list of black and white vacancies that were not searchable or filterable. It didn't tell you anything about the brand or the role. It basically confirmed the dad brand myth. And wasn't doing any favours for us. And then lastly, I had zero budget when I joined the business with which to change all of these things. So I thought, this is going to take a lot of shoestring innovation and a lot of hard work from the team. So keep all of those challenges in mind for a second, because I want to tell you a little bit more about the business. I want to illustrate for you the realities that you find out if you're on the inside. So Charles Tyrwhitt, as I said, we're a men's brand. We sell suits and shirts and shoes and socks and other things that don't begin with S, like ties. We have 26 stores in the UK. We have 1 in Paris. We've 6 in the US. We'll be opening 5 more in the US this year. We are about 25% of our sales we do in-store and 75% online. We're really heavy online, a great e-commerce business that I don't think is necessarily clear to candidates. We are really big in the US. It's the biggest market for us. We make over 26 million transactions every year. It's a hell of a lot of shirts. We're 32 years old now, founded by this charming gentleman here, Nick Wheeler, from his university bedroom after a Christmas tree venture had failed. He's an absolute entrepreneur. The lady stood behind him is Chrissy Rucker. They are a power couple. She is the founder and owner of The White Company. We have a really clear purpose in the business. This is to make it easy for men to dress well, something that every one of our employees can associate with some way or another. And we believe we are the home of proper shirts. Remember that, because I'll make a reference to it a little bit later. Incidentally, our shirts come in 562 different colour, cuts, cuff, collar, size combinations. It is pretty incredible, the products that we make. So already you can see there's quite a lot here to hang an employer brand on. But let me tell you a little bit about the people. Far from being stuffy and dusty, as I assume they probably were 2 years ago, they are the most inspiring, friendly bunch I've ever had the pleasure to work with. You can see a group of them here, certainly not the vision that I had in my mind. There's 1,100 of us in the company, so we're relatively small. We work in retail, head office, distribution, contact center. We're in the US, the UK, we're in Paris. We have about 200 different job roles in the business. We are 55% women. Our gender pay gap this year was plus 2%, really positive. Our average age is 31. This year, Best Companies rated us as one to watch. We're really on a journey to take CT from good to great in terms of the employee experience. Excuse me. We call ourselves Tyrwhitteers. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We're motivated by sugar and alcohol and winning. I've never met a friendlier bunch, and I really wanted a way to get this into the psyche of candidates and the talent that we want to attract. So it's clear that we've got some pretty special things going on, but I wanted to just put a ring around these things a little bit and make them a little bit clearer so that I could take the message forward. And this is what I've called the magic, but it's really unique selling points of Charles Tyrwhitt. So the things I wanted to champion in employer branding were, first of all, most obviously, Nick Wheeler. Nick is, I don't know if anyone's had the pleasure of receiving a mailer from Nick, if anyone's a CT customer. He is a really down-to-earth, friendly chap. And the way that he talks to our people it's so accessible, and I wanted to champion him as the voice of CT's employer brand. He owns the business, as I said. He will never sell the business. He talks about it as being his 5th child. He makes CT special amongst our competitors in that a lot of them are owned by venture capitalist companies. If you think about about TM Lewin, for example, they're there to make a lot of money and sell on. Nick will never sell. He really wants people to treat the business as their own and to love their job. I was going to do a Nick impression, but I won't. The second thing that I really wanted to share with our candidates was this entrepreneurialism that we have in our business. And again, that comes from Nick, the way he is. He says, treat the business like your own. Fail fast. Use your ideas. Let's see how you can innovate. And for me personally, that's been hugely engaging. I've felt that I can make a difference at CT, and everyone who I speak to also feels that same kind of ownership of their role, which is something that, again, I don't think our competitors really offer. Thirdly, this is one of our values. We're quirky and fun, and we do a lot of funny, silly things that I think candidates will either adhere to and love, or think, oh my God, that's just the worst thing possible. This business is not for me. So I wanted to be really clear about what our culture is like. These are real pictures that came from our Cheapside store, I think. These guys sent to me quite recently. And finally, odd to see a post box, but I'll explain it. We have a really open communications with our leadership. Our leadership are very accessible. So I'm talking about our board and our senior leadership team. The post box is actually a facility that we have for any colleague, wherever they are in the UK, in the US, anywhere in the business, to submit questions, comments, ideas to the leadership team, and they publicly answer them, every single one, whatever they might be. They could be as ridiculous as, can we have wine Wednesdays? That is a real one. Or, why did Nick vote for Brexit? Really huge issues that have been discussed. So, and again, I don't think that's particularly typical, that businesses are that open to hearing and that open to being vulnerable at their employees' request. So these are the magic things I wanted to talk about. Being really clear then about what card that is, being really clear about the messages I wanted to share. The next question really was how to do this. What tools do we have at our disposal? I'd already said we had zero budget. That wasn't going to change anytime soon. But we had LinkedIn and we had Glassdoor. We had a business full of really keen people who love to talk about the roles that they do. They're my guinea pigs. I stole a lot of their stories and started sharing them. I had a fantastic team, Sam and Rami. Sam's at the back. I've now got Laura as well. All three of these recruiters are as committed to driving the CT employer brand as I am, and they just do an incredible job of making our candidates feel as special as our customers. And I think that's really important, to reinforce your employer brand, to treat your candidates as your customers and really look after them, whether they're getting the role or not. And then we had a secret tool. Our secret weapon was an iPhone, just making it easy to grab and tell the story instantly wherever we were seeing it of our employer brand. So the approach then, the challenges that we had, I think many of you might resonate with, and sometimes they can feel a little bit insurmountable when you think, gosh, we've got this dad brand, people are making assumptions of us, we don't pay in the top percentile, we're not particularly sexy. The temptation is to go to an agency, spend thousands, sorry to the agencies in the room, spend thousands of pounds articulating your employer brand and getting them to tell you, well, how can you zhuzh this up and make it more attractive? But I, first of all, didn't have that money to do it, but I thought it's not really necessary. I don't want to spend all this time articulating an employee value proposition when let's just do it. Let's just start somewhere. And this is really my first piece of advice for employer branding, just start. So, okay, take my own advice, I'm going to start talking about who we are. But how? What's the tone to take? I already knew I wanted to talk like Nick a little bit. Bear with me on this one. I think sometimes recruitment and the subsequent employment can be a little bit like dating. So, when you start dating, you put forward your very best you, and maybe you kind of tweak the truth a little bit, and you think it's going really well, you really like this person, perhaps it's got a future in it, and then, you ultimately move in with them and you find out they leave their socks on the floor and they haven't scooped the onions out of the sink, and you think, why am I here? This isn't what I signed up for. Nobody wants to go through a recruitment process. No one wants to be promised the world in interview only to find out that that's not actually the reality when they join the business. I don't know if any of you have felt this, I certainly have in the past. So then my second piece of advice is just do you. In your employer branding, be really, really honest and authentic about who you are and who you're not. The good, the bad, the cringy stuff, the things that you haven't got right yet, just share it all. And that's risky. You will definitely have naysayers, marketing flipped, and I can talk more about that later on, but just do you. So this is what we started. And we started on LinkedIn because it was free and everyone has it, and I didn't have anything else or know what else to do. So I became quite evangelical actually about LinkedIn. The business knew me as the paparazzi because I'd been taking pictures around the place. But here's an example of some of the posts that have been really successful for us over the last 12 to 18 months or so. The first one here in the top corner, the guy in the pink shirt, is our COO. His name's Mark. He is being a tea boy here in our contact centre. This was really happening. He was just handing out tea on a really busy day. Again, accessible leadership. That was something I wanted to share. This went viral, especially in India. You can imagine the call centres in India, they love this. I think Mark's a god. The next one is Halloween. And again, around that quirky and fun that I wanted to share with candidates and future talent. Some people would hate this. It would be their worst day at work ever Tyrwhittiers love it. They really get behind this. And again, so we're starting to help people select in or out of our processes. The next one are a bunch of people celebrating winning store of the month. Really important to share that reward and recognition, those thank yous. The next one's really silly, and I got some flack over this actually, but it ultimately came good. I decided to share a lot of the funny things that candidates say in interview. And one thing here, I want to work for Charles Tyrwhitt because I look good in a suit. That was really somebody's motivation to come and work for our business. And some people say, oh my God, you can't do this is brand damaging. But for the most part, people saw that this is in good humour and understood that CT doesn't take themselves too seriously. Nick Wheeler down in the bottom signing birthday cards. This isn't a stage photo. I was walking around the office. Nick was sat there. I said, hey, he looked up. I snapped him. He does this. He signs cards for everyone's birthday. Okay, it's achievable at the moment, being only 1,000 of us. And again, this was viral on LinkedIn. People just loved it, the care that Nick showed. The next one's a hot chocolate trolley, cheer people up. And then there's a few more here around. Actually, this one is worth talking about, the customer one. There's a picture here of an artichoke. A customer of ours was on a train going to take his daughter to university. They had the little M&S picnic there, and they had no way to get their artichokes out without getting their fingers all oily. And Dad came to the rescue by pulling his brass collar stiffener out of his Charles Tyrwhitt shirt and spearing his artichokes with that. And then he sent that story to our customer services department, who said, how brilliant is this? And yeah, we need to share that with our candidates. It's really important that they see that our customers love us and engage with us in this way too. And this was a really, really popular post. Other things here are birthdays. We've got chaps here all wearing the same socks in the office, championing our product. Nick at a Christmas party, and the very last one is our CEO here, Michael, at an award ceremony for long service. When people come to Charles Tyrwhitt, they don't leave. We literally have long service celebrations every month, lots and lots of them. So this all seemed quite random. I know the post that I've just shared with you, but there is a little bit of method to it, and I think this is quite important. I've already said that there were 4 things to champion. Nick, the leadership, the culture, and the bright ideas, the innovation of the business. So we split down our posts every day to make sure that we're covering those messages, to make sure we're equally spending, we're giving attention to retail, to contact centre, to distribution, to head office, equally talking about Manchester as New York, equally talking about the culture, what we do for charities, and making sure that the whole story is told. We've seen a growth from 8,000 to 18,000 followers on LinkedIn over the last year or so, which probably doesn't sound that much, 10,000 followers, but for us it's massive. Again, being a small business, it's huge. If we could have this growth in our customer acquisition, we would be laughing. It's been really great. And we see, I don't know if you're aware, typically the industry engagement for a post on LinkedIn is about 0.8%. Ours sit between 2 to 4%. So we know that what we're sending out there is being consumed and being enjoyed. Where a post doesn't work, you can see we're tracking our engagement. Where it doesn't work, we stop doing it. We don't do any posts now about jobs on LinkedIn. They don't work. So we only talk about the employee experience. The second thing, I mentioned Glassdoor briefly a second ago. We are religious about responding to every single Glassdoor review that is made of us, whether it's good or bad. It's often both. And I reply to them really honestly. I own the experiences that past employees, current employees have had, offer them the opportunity to come and talk to us about it. And sometimes, you get those people who just, you can never please, and they slate you. I address that too, and really boldly, really honestly, and say things like, well, it's probably a good job you don't work for Charles Tyrwhitt anymore because you don't sound like our type of person. And candidates really appreciate that. So over the course of the time that we've been really working hard on LinkedIn and Glassdoor, we were able to start reporting to the board on the increases that we were seeing, the levels of engagement we were seeing. And and they started listening. Employer branding is actually important, and we started reporting anecdotally as well, the sort of conversations we were having with candidates, the experiences that they were having themselves whilst making job decisions, and how they were considering Charles Tyrwhitt in a new way. One particular anecdote I remember was shared to our CFO from our new retail director, who said when he was approached by the brand, he thought, dusty old dad brand, not interested in this. And then he went onto LinkedIn and saw a video that we'd posted about a cheer up chocolate conga that we did in the office one day, because it was, I think, the most depressed day of the year on February the 9th or whatever it might be. And he loved it. He thought, this is my kind of crazy. I want a part of this, this business, and joined us. So the board were listening in a new way, and they thought, well, we probably do need to help you out here. And they gave us some budget. Not a lot. They gave us £4,000, with which we were able to create the Home of Proper Jobs. The Home of Proper Shirts, Home of Proper Jobs. This is our website, really, our careers site. And just like everything else, we had to really work very hard. A total shoestring here. Sam, Remy and I worked in our own time to create all of the content ourselves, all of the functionality ourselves. Again, we wanted to champion Nick. We've written it in Nick's voice. Bobblehead Nick here is a pet of ours. He drives along the bottom of the pages. This site is full of personality. We really believe that it shares the experience of Charles Tyrwhitt's employer brand. And we couldn't be more happy with it, actually, and it turned out to be the steal of the century, because we designed it all ourselves. We ended up paying a young upstart designer to put it all together for about £3,600. And it's called the Home of Proper Jobs, as I said, which completely takes away the need to be able to spell Tyrwhitt, which has been very helpful. So our results then, this has been live for about 9 months or so, and we feel really good about where we're at. We have saved thousands and thousands of pounds in recruitment costs, because our candidates are coming to us. We're not having to rely on agencies so much. That's in no small part the work that Sam's done on direct recruitment too. Really incredible. We've seen that we've had a big decrease in time wasters. You know, there's tire kickers who kind of come along and use you as leverage for the job they really want with another employer. Well, we've found that we've now become the job they really want and the employer they want, which is fantastic. We're not seeing dropouts in the same way. We're not being turned down at offer stage as we had previously been experiencing. And an incidental benefit of the work that we've been doing is that there's been this noticeable increase in pride and ownership from the whole business in the employer brand. They have started engaging in LinkedIn in a way that I'd never expected. I couldn't have even asked for it. I didn't imagine it would happen. But our colleagues follow CT as regularly as our candidates, and they comment and they back up the stuff that we're putting out there. So we could see, maybe have a post from Manchester saying, you know, X is leaving the business, sorry to see them go. And Swindon might reply and say, why are you leaving? This is an amazing company. And there's no greater marketing than your own people saying how great it is. So do try and encourage your people to get involved with your employer branding. Additionally, I think I already said the referrals that they're making have increased, and they're promoting vacancies for us now as well. So incredible results. But it never ends. I think one of my final points to take away from our employer branding journey and our approach is that it's only as good as we are at doing it. Companies never stop marketing to their customers. We can never stop marketing to our candidates. No one has the time to scroll back and back and back for months through LinkedIn posts to see when you were last active. It has to be constant, it has to be relative, and it has to be recent. With our Home of Proper Jobs, we revise it every 2 to 3 months. It's amazing how quickly information becomes inaccurate. And again, that just scuppers your credibility in the marketplace. If you've got a director on your website who no longer works for you, you've got to keep on top of it every day. So it's a constant journey for us. And that's about all I've got to say. I will take some questions in a second, but if you only take one thing away from me rambling for the last 20 minutes, I would say let it be this. Really just do you, and don't worry too much about being perfect. Thank you.